want to go? We've talked about it.
I know. I have to go.
Has to go.
We should drive there.
It was a damp London afternoon when Sam Heughan stepped into the press conference room of a luxury hotel. The kind of place where chandeliers reflected the pale autumn light and the air was heavy with expectation. Outside, the rain fell in soft, deliberate taps against the window panes, as if echoing the pulse of anticipation that filled the space. Inside, cameras clicked in staccato bursts. Microphones were lined neatly across a table dressed in white linen, and dozens of faces. Reporters, bloggers, photographers, and fans turned toward the man whose presence seemed to shift the atmosphere. Sam, dressed in an ash-gray suit and a dark tie, looked composed yet visibly weary. His eyes carried the trace of sleepless nights, red but resolute, reflecting both exhaustion and defiance. When he took the podium, a wave of silence moved through the room. It was the silence that precedes revelation, scandal, or redemption. Every lens pointed at him, every heart braced for something unexpected. The scandal that had shaken the Outlander universe had left millions of fans confused, betrayed, and desperate for answers. For Sam Heughan was not merely an actor in their eyes. He was the embodiment of devotion, courage, and romantic tragedy in human form. And yet now he stood alone, separated from the world that had once defined him. He began to speak softly, his voice steady but touched by emotion. "I know," he said, his Scottish accent carrying a tremor of sincerity. "People are asking why, what happened, who made the decision, what was the reason?" He paused, allowing the weight of the questions to linger in the air. "I can't answer everything today, but I can tell you what I experienced, because I believe honesty is the only thing that remains when everything else is taken away." His words were measured, not defensive but reflective, spoken like a man who had walked through disappointment and chosen dignity over bitterness. He recounted that 2 months earlier as production for the next season of Outlander was underway. He received a call from one of the executive producers, a conversation that began professionally but soon turned ominous. The tone was cold, distant, almost rehearsed. The producer explained that the creative direction of the show was shifting, that they wanted a new character, someone who could appeal to a younger audience, someone whose story would take precedence over his. Sam had listened, bewildered, unable to comprehend that after years of commitment, of building a character from the soil of Scotland to the screen of millions, the decision had already been made without him. He reminded them he had a contract. He had memorized the script, had already begun rehearsing scenes. But the producer's response was curt. "The decision has been made." No explanation could soften that blow. Rumors multiplied instantly. Some claimed the move was financial, that the studio wanted to cut costs. Others whispered about creative disputes between the production team and Sam regarding the story's evolution. Still others speculated that it was all part of a marketing strategy to reinvigorate the franchise. Whatever the reason, the outcome was brutal. Headlines across entertainment media read, "Sam Heughan removed from Outlander." Fans reacted with outrage and heartbreak. Social media was aflame. Hashtags trended worldwide. Some demanded transparency, accusing the network of betrayal. Others mourned the symbolic death of a character who had become a part of television history. Sam, meanwhile, withdrew into silence. That night, as he later described, he walked alone through the London streets, the rain soaking through his coat, the city lights blurring in his vision. He questioned himself endlessly. Had he failed? Was he no longer relevant? Had the industry moved past him? He thought of the years spent in freezing landscapes, of filming in snow and wind, of every line delivered with the passion of a man who believed utterly in his craft. And now it seemed that devotion had vanished into smoke. He had not just lost a role, he had lost a version of himself. For days he stayed offline, avoiding the noise of speculation. He found a strange comfort in solitude, walking through foggy parks and letting the chill of the air sharpen his clarity. But one evening, as London streets lay quiet beneath a misty drizzle, his phone rang. The name on the screen startled him. Isabella Duca, the celebrated Italian director known for her introspective, psychologically rich films. Her voice, soft but confident, broke through his haze. "Sam," she said, "I heard what happened.
I'm sorry, truly.
But I think you're standing at the beginning, not the end. I have a role for you, if you're ready to rediscover yourself." The script she offered told the story of Ethan Blackthorne, a former British intelligence officer haunted by betrayal, loss, and moral ambiguity. Isabella explained that Ethan was a man who had seen the machinery of power up close, who had watched ideals crumble, who had lost everything that tethered him to humanity. His wife, his daughter, his faith in justice. Yet amid the wreckage, he continues to search, not just for revenge, but for redemption. It was not a heroic role in the traditional sense. It was raw, tragic, and human. Sam spent that night reading the script. The room was dim, the only light coming from the street outside. As he read, images formed in his mind, dark European streets after rain, the glow of city lamps reflecting on wet cobblestones, the cold peaks of the Alps, the muted hum of danger. He saw Ethan not as a spy, but as a soul stripped bare, walking the fine line between justice and vengeance. The world of Outlander had been one of passion and history. The world of Ethan Blackthorne was one of shadow and silence, where truth was a weapon and love, a ghost. Sam felt drawn to it instantly. "I didn't take the role to prove anything," he said at the press conference. "I took it because it scared me, because it asked something of me that I hadn't yet given as an actor." The film, set across Europe, Rome, Geneva, the Italian Alps, and small towns along the Rhine, was an atmospheric thriller, blending espionage with existential reflection. Sam began preparing with an almost monastic discipline. He trained with former intelligence officers to understand surveillance and counterintelligence tactics. He learned how to handle firearms, how to decode radio signals, how to read classified documents with the precision of a man whose life depended on it. He even spent time in the mountains of northern Italy, learning cold weather survival techniques, climbing through snowbound passes to feel the physical isolation his character would endure. He also took intensive Italian language lessons, as Ethan's lineage in the story carried a deep cultural connection that shaped his identity and moral conflict. "It wasn't just about getting the accent right," Sam explained. "It was about understanding how language changes emotion, how grief sounds different in Italian than in English." Reporters asked the inevitable, "Is this your way of responding to Outlander, a form of artistic revenge?" Sam smiled faintly, his eyes distant, as though he were looking beyond the question itself. "No," he said quietly. "When you lose a role you've lived with for years, it's not just a job you lose. It's a part of your inner world that disappears. But acting, for me, has never been about control. It's about surrender. Ethan is not revenge, he's rebirth. He's the part of me that still believes there's something worth fighting for, even when everything else has fallen apart." His answer silenced the room. In that moment, Sam's journey seemed to mirror that of his new character. A man stripped of the familiar, forced to rebuild from nothing but conviction. Many fans watching the broadcast later would remark that he seemed lighter, freer, as though the storm had passed and he had chosen to walk through its aftermath instead of hiding from it. Insiders close to the project revealed that Isabella Duca had tailored parts of the film around Sam's own emotional state, blurring the line between actor and character. The emotional realism she sought required not performance, but truth. In one particularly intense scene, Ethan stands alone on a rain-soaked bridge in Rome, watching the water flow beneath him, a metaphor for the flow of memory, guilt, and identity. Sam reportedly stayed silent for several minutes after the camera stopped rolling, tears mixing with rain. Critics began to speculate that Ethan Blackthorne might become a turning point in Sam's career, the film that redefined him not as the romantic hero of Outlander, but as a serious, transformative actor capable of depth and complexity. For Sam, however, the transition was more personal than professional. "We all have moments when life takes something from us," he said later in an interview. "And we can either hold on to that loss, or we can let it push us into discovering something new. I think that's what Ethan represents. It's what I represent too, in a way." The press conference ended quietly. Sam stepped down from the podium, offered a brief, almost shy smile to the cameras, and left through a side door into the London rain. Outside, umbrellas blossomed like dark flowers, and as he disappeared into the crowd, it was clear that this was not a man defeated but reborn. The scandal that had once threatened to destroy him had become the soil from which something deeper could grow. It was not the end of an era but the beginning of one. Somewhere in the rain-drenched city, a man once known as the Highland Warrior was preparing to become the haunted spy. And in that transformation, there was no bitterness. Only the quiet, defiant beauty of an art.
Dakota, we're ready for you back on set.
Don't yell at me.
By the way, how do you define success?
What would my...
The room was still charged with tension when another reporter rose from the middle row, his voice slicing through the quiet hum of camera clicks. "There's a rumor," he began cautiously, "that you were written out of Outlander because of creative conflicts between you and the director. Did you speak out against the new script?" For a brief moment, Sam Heughan lifted his gaze, and though his eyes were tired, they gleamed with something sharp and unflinching clarity, perhaps even resolve. He inhaled slowly before speaking, his voice measured, almost calm. "I don't want to reveal everything right now," he said, his Scottish lilt softening the edges of his words. "But I will say this: creative conflicts happen. It's part of the process. What truly matters is how each party chooses to handle them. Respect and communication are the foundation of every collaboration, and when either begins to fade, even the strongest bonds start to fray. Unfortunately, this time, the direction Outlander was moving in and what I envisioned for the role were no longer in harmony." His words hung delicately in the air, diplomatic, yet painfully honest. What he didn't need to say was already understood by everyone in the room. Something had broken behind the scenes, something too deep for press statements to repair. He continued, his tone still steady but weighted by recollection. A few weeks before the scandal broke publicly, there had been an internal meeting, private, tense, filled with the kind of polite silences that hide disappointment. The producers had placed a new version of the script on the table. Sam flipped through the pages and noticed immediately how much had changed. His character, Leard Dunmore, the beating heart of the story, was no longer central. Key emotional arcs had been erased or diluted. Entire scenes that gave his role depth, moral tension, and humanity were gone. New characters had been inserted, each designed to draw in younger viewers, to make the show more diverse in energy, as one executive phrased it. Sam listened carefully as the producers explained their vision. "We need to keep up with the market. We need fresh faces, faster pacing, brighter storylines." But to him, those phrases, market, pacing, demographics, felt like foreign words in a space that once breathed authenticity and artistry. He wasn't opposed to innovation. He had always believed that storytelling must evolve. Yet, this felt like something else entirely, a slow erasure of meaning in favor of spectacle. He had tried to reason with them, offering ideas that would allow the series to evolve while preserving the emotional truth of Leard Dunmore. He proposed keeping a few key scenes that would preserve the character's symbolic depth, his inner conflicts, his connection to the themes of honor and love that had carried the show since its inception. But his suggestions were met with nods of polite disinterest and the same sterile responses. "We need to adapt to audience demands. We're focusing on a new era. The brand has to grow." And so, when the final decision came, it didn't arrive through conversation or even a phone call. It came as an email. A short, formal message thanking him for his valuable contribution and wishing him well for the future. No explanation, no closure. Just a signature line at the bottom of a digital page that effectively ended nearly a decade of commitment. The next morning, the world knew. Headlines exploded across entertainment media. Sam Heughan removed from Outlander. Creative rift rocks beloved series. Fans in shock. On social media, chaos erupted. Hashtags trended worldwide. Fans debated endlessly. And the internet split into factions. Some defending him fiercely, others rationalizing the decision. As creative evolution, Sam, meanwhile, sat in silence in his London flat, scrolling through the flood of articles and posts, his face lit by the blue glow of the screen. Some commentators wrote that this might be a blessing in disguise, that he should aim for quality over continuity. Others accused the production of betrayal. He read every word, even the cruel ones, not out of masochism but out of the need to understand what his audience felt. That night, unable to sleep, he made a few phone calls, to his family back in Scotland, to his wife, to a few trusted friends from the set. "I don't know what to do," he confessed quietly. "What if people think I'm not good enough? What if they see this new role as a step down?" On the other end of the line, his friend's voice was calm but firm. "Comparison is the thief of peace, Sam. The battle isn't out there. It's in here," the friend said, tapping his own chest. "It's the heart that keeps you alive, not the headlines. Let your passion speak louder than your fear." Those words stayed with him long after the call ended, echoing in his mind like a mantra through the long hours before dawn. A few days later, when Isabella Duca's offer arrived, the chance to play Ethan Blackthorne, a haunted former British intelligence officer whose life is unraveled by betrayal and loss. Sam saw something more than just a new script. He saw a mirror. Ethan's story was a story of displacement, of identity shattered and remade. A man forced out of the world he built, questioning his purpose, doubting his own reflection. Sam felt a strange sense of alignment with the character, as though fate had sent him a role that spoke directly to his wound. When he met Isabella in Rome, she told him, "Ethan is not a hero. He's a man who has lost his way but still believes in something sacred, justice, redemption, maybe love, even if he no longer knows what it means. You've lived that emotion recently, haven't you?" Sam had smiled faintly. "Yes, I suppose I have." When the reporters asked him how Ethan would differ from Leard Dunmore, Sam's face softened into something almost boyish. "Ethan challenges me in ways I've never been challenged before," he explained. "It's not about sword fights or physical strength. It's about emotional exposure. There's a scene I can't reveal much about, but it's one of the hardest things I've ever done." Ethan confronts the man who betrayed him. There in a dark room, only a desk lamp between them. It's raining outside. The sound of the drops is the only rhythm in the silence. There's no violence, no shouting. Just breath, eyes, tears, silence. And I have to show everything. The heartbreak, the anger, the disbelief without saying a word. That's the challenge. That's the art. He paused, glancing briefly at the rows of flashing lights before him. "What I want," he continued, "is for the audience not to see just another confrontation scene. I want them to feel what betrayal does to a soul. The way it hollows you out, makes you doubt your own goodness, your own worth. I want them to see not just Ethan, but me, a man who's been knocked down and is trying to stand again." Yet, even as he spoke with quiet conviction, he acknowledged the risks that lay ahead. The world of Outlander had given him fame, loyalty, a global fan base. Stepping away, willingly or not, meant stepping into uncertainty. "Of course I know there will be comparisons," he admitted. "People will look at Ethan and say he's not Leard. They'll compare the tone, the accent, the emotion, the scale. Some will call it a downgrade. Some might say I'm trying too hard to reclaim something I lost. And maybe they'll be right about parts of it. But that's the risk of being an artist. You can't live safely and still call it art." He smiled faintly, that familiar mix of humility and stubbornness glimmering through. If film fails, if people don't connect, then so be it. At least I'll know I gave it everything. At least I won't have to live with the regret of not trying. And if it succeeds, if even one person sees it and feels something genuine, then it will mean that you can take the blows, the betrayals, the losses, and still rise again. That's all I want. Near the end of the conference, a young journalist, perhaps no older than 30, stood up and asked softly, "What do you want to say to the fans who've stood by you through this storm? Those who still believe in you, even when the headlines don't?" The question seemed to hit Sam deeply. He lowered his eyes for a moment, the flashes from cameras flickering across his face like starlight. When he looked up again, his voice had changed, gentler now, touched by genuine emotion. "I know there are people out there who are disappointed, who are sad, who feel abandoned. I understand that. Leard Dunmore wasn't just a character to them. He was part of their lives. For many years, they followed his journey as if it were their own. And I'm sorry if my departure caused confusion or pain. I never wanted to leave people without an explanation. But I also want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for the love, the patience, the loyalty, and the faith you've shown me through every chapter. That faith is what stopped me from giving up. It reminded me that I still have something to offer. He paused then, visibly emotional, before adding, "This new role, this new chapter, it's my way of giving something back. It's my message that when one door closes, another truly does open, even if it opens into the unknown." Ethan Blackthorne isn't just a new character. It's a continuation of everything I've learned, everything I've lived. He's proof that pain can transform into purpose. And I hope that when people watch him, they don't just see a new project, they see me. Not Leard Dunmore, not the man from Outlander, but Sam Heughan, the actor, the artist, the man who refuses to stop moving forward. As the press conference drew to a close, Sam stood there for a brief moment longer, surrounded by the hum of conversation and the fading bursts of camera flashes. Then he smiled, a small, humble, and weary smile, and stepped away from the podium. Outside, the London rain had begun again, steady and rhythmic, washing the city in silver light. He walked through it without an umbrella, his coat damp, his steps unhurried. It was as though he welcomed the rain this time, as though it wasn't a burden but a baptism, a quiet renewal after the storm. Behind him, the whispers of speculation and scandal still swirled. But ahead, the air was open, clean, and new. And somewhere in that distance, between loss and rediscovery, between endings and beginnings, Sam Heughan was not just moving on. He was transforming, carrying the spirit of an artist who had chosen, even after everything, to keep his heart open to the next story waiting to be told.